Vikings continue. Well, actually, they just wrapped up the afternoon session. We'll remind you that the Twins are down 11-3 very late. Cleveland won the first of two, so the Twins lose a game in the standings. More on baseball later, but now we're in a football mode, and we're pleased to be joined by Vikings offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Where do we begin? I mentioned I don't think you've been on. Obviously, you've been with PA forever. Are you okay with that, or you just pretend to be okay with that, or does he not really give you much of a choice?
He may feel like I'm cheating on him being on this show.
I'm worried about that.
I wondered about that.
Did you find out about this?
Yeah.
No, he never listens to us.
He texts me a lot during the show.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, this could be dicey.
Well, that could be a little bit dicey.
Paul, this doesn't mean anything. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, we
Think about him the whole time you do
We don't want to
this.
get in the middle of this. So I was mentioning to Guardsy, the producer of the show, and the audience. There was Zim had some quotes today in the Mark Craig story about the zone blocking scheme. And it was fascinating to me because Zim basically said, hey, look, by the way, we've done some zone blocking here before. This isn't that new. But the way it's being implemented here with the new people we have here, it's completely different. And almost every day, I don't have to tell you, there is another story that talks about the influence of Kubiak and the people he brought with him as well. Mm-hmm. You are obviously okay with this because you have said, hey, I basically engineered this. I'm fine with this. Why are you fine with it? Because every day there's something. It's Kubiak this, Kubiak that. I mean, you have to have an ego somewhere in there.
I guess, yeah, everybody has an ego. It's a question of how big, I guess, would be that. Honestly, the way I look at it, we're a better football team. We're a better offense. I'm a better coach. Haven't been around Coach Coop for this amount of time. You know, we were putting a staff together. We were sitting there, and Coach Zim and Rick and I were sitting together. We had some openings on our staff, and when this became a possibility,
do you remember how it came up? Literally, the first time either you broached it or somebody else broached it. How it became?
No, but I'll just tell you, I have had a relationship with Gary.
Right.
I've had a relationship with Clint, his son, and Clint and I are as close as I am to anybody in the game of football. So when you're close to somebody, you kind of get close to their family and vice versa. So it was, I hate to say this, but it was a no-brainer. It was, wait, this is a possibility. What do we have to do to make this happen? And I could just tell you, and it's more so the scheme. The scheme's important. And I've admired Coach Koob and what Rick Dennison do. I've admired that scheme for a long time. I've never been in it. I've been in quite a few schemes, not that specific one. I've been in West Coast. But I just admired what those guys did. And then, like in any business, it's a people business. So I don't know if you know Coach Koob at all.
I'm old enough to actually had covered him from time to time back when he was a backup quarterback.
Gotcha.
So I don't know him well, but I've been around him.
And it's a people business. So
yes.
The guys, he's just a good man. Rick Dennison, good man. We brought in really good people. And that makes, so when you say, do I get upset with that? The answer, the truth, no. Because I think we're a better football team. I think we're a better offense with the group that we've put together.
For the average Vikings fan, without getting too technical with the X's and O's, what would you say is, you mentioned you were more West Coast guy.
Yeah.
These terms get thrown around a lot, and they get generalized, and I don't think sometimes people completely understand them. What would you say is the biggest, huge difference between what you're used to and what this offense is, what you're attempting to implement with their help here?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So when I came in, I was West Coast with Brad Childress, Darryl Bevel. That version of the West Coast broke off from Mike Holmgren and Andy Reid.
Splinter groups. Yes.
Exactly. So then there was this other version, and by the way, the West Coast is coming from Bill Walsh.
Right, yeah.
So then there's this other version that went through Denver with Coach Shanahan. So there's some terms that we use now that I broke into this league using. That means exactly that's what I was raised on. But then there's slight differences, and I'd say the main difference with what we're trying to do goes back to that zone running scheme, and it's the wide zone and the tight zone. And then it's a matter I'm so big about, and what we're so big about is marrying that run game with the pass game so that your runs look like passes, your passes look like runs.
It was also interesting to hear that there are limits to how much you can practice this because of what some of the blocks that you have to do.
Yep.
How hard does that make it to implement it?
No, I think we get a ton of good work in here, and the truth is we are going to practice our cut blocks starting Friday night, and that's when it starts. We don't cut our own guys, but we do some drills. I know that was the big story was the donut.
Yes.
You know?
We talked about the donut earlier.
So we try and get creative. Any drill that you do out here on the practice field, you're trying to implement something that the player is going to be asked to do on the field. Well, we're not going to cut our own players. So Friday night, that's our first chance to get some guys on the ground. And when you're running a wide zone scheme, you're moving the ball, you're moving the point, as they call it. And then once you cut somebody, once you get a defender on the ground, seemingly that opens some running lanes.
So when the idea came forward, you guys started talking about bringing him in. Which came first? Was it we want to change our scheme, or was it, no, we got a chance to get Kubiak, and that happens to be a scheme that he runs, which might be a bonus to us?
You know, when the season ended, it was let's pull this thing apart. And my background, I've been in a bunch of different systems. Been in that version of the West Coast we talked about, been in the Digit system, the Ron Earhart system. Right. So I knew ultimately I had a vision for what we wanted to be, and it matched what Zim wanted us to be. Well, now the good news is, Coach Koob, we all share a very, very similar vision, and everybody knows what that looks like. It's an explosive offense that you're running the ball, you're passing the ball in a variety of ways. But I just think that our scheme right this moment, whatever the name we give it, is fits our personnel, which maybe is the most important thing. I think it really fits the guys that we got.
Vikings offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski joining us after Wednesday practice here from the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. The first day we had Zim up here, and we talked a lot about Kubiak, because that's all everybody's ever talking about. I've become consumed with it too. And so it was interesting to hear him say, look, I need a sounding board. He admitted that to a certain extent Tony Sperano represented that sounding board. These are two very different individuals, but that for him it served a purpose, and that now it's a guy he feels like he can go in, basically do stuff, and that he's going to be honest with him. He's got the pedigree that he's going to say whatever he thinks, and that he even said, well, maybe he takes the edge off me a little bit where sometimes I'm getting myself too worked up. Can you see that happening, or do you see that happening already?
Well, I think Coach Zim, he said it, and he's right. I mean, Tony's presence on our staff was way more than just an offensive line coach. So there's something to be said for having someone in your building that's got your back that's done that job before. So here's Coach Koob, who's done that job successfully, and he's got the right demeanor where he can listen and provide maybe a little bit different perspective. So I see that for sure. So from that perspective, and then how it pertains to me and the rest of our offense, we're just mining him for everything he's got.
The on that part, you envision. I mean, we're all still trying to figure out, okay, you're calling the plays. We're presuming you're still going to call the plays.
Yes.
So on game day, where does he fit in? Where does Kubiak fit in what your vision is?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to what I've done or what I've seen, what I've witnessed every year I've been here. And I talked about this the other day, and it's the truth. Play calling is very collaborative. Ultimately, I'm making the call, and when it's in the moment, you make the call and you don't second-guess yourself. But I can't tell you how many times where I sat there as a quarterback coach or the tight end coach, and I'd walk over to the play caller and say, have you thought about this? So there's a constant dialogue going on. So that's where I have Koob up in the booth providing that dialogue. I got Rick Dennison on the field providing that dialogue. And then I have a bunch of other coaches that are filtering in, giving suggestions. But I really do believe play calling can be certainly there's an art form to it. There's timing. But I think you lose sight of – I'll give you, for instance, we called a play last year. It scored a touchdown. Everyone's like, hey, great call on the headset. Great call, Kevin. I'm thinking to myself, I didn't design the play. That was our running backs coach suggested that play. So I get the glory for it, but we had a great meeting on Wednesday where that play was designed. So it's a collaborative effort, and I'm looking forward to getting started on Friday.
We'll talk. There's a couple more actually things related to this offense I want to get into as well. But I want it, since we've not had you on before, I'm curious to know, as someone, obviously your father has been an executive for a long time and continues to do that on the basketball side, different sports, but it also, I guess, I'm assuming gets you in the culture a little bit. You kind of grew up in the culture. How did that affect you in terms of you getting here or maybe understanding these businesses? What impact would you say growing up inside of that in a way that a lot of people don't? What that did to you?
It's an interesting story because I really didn't grow up in it. My dad was in the mortgage business until he was about 45 3, 4, 5. So I knew Dad, the mortgage banker. Now, he played basketball in college. He was a color commentary for a local basketball game. So he was around it. But really, for me, that wasn't until I was out in college and here. So,
yes.
But now, having said all that, we can really dive in. We have some really cool conversations nowadays about player development, about relationships and certain things. So maybe it'd be a little, if he was a lawyer, I don't know if I'd have the same type of experience that we both share. So we're able to really throw things at each other. And the NBA, it's such an interesting league, and it never stops. So it's something that when I'm home in the summertime and sitting down there, I really enjoy to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Is it fair to say the assumption people have is that if you're an offensive coordinator, you got to have a thick skin, to the extent that it's the one sport, I think, more than any other, where the average rube, forget the smart aleck talk show hosts and columnists, just your average rube is sitting on his barca saying, that was a terrible call. I can call a game better. They think that, we all think that we can do it because of the orderly nature of football. So to that extent, thick skin, have you always had it? Is that something that's always been a part of you, or is it something you've had to develop?
No, it's easy for me. And for me, the play calls, I'm so focused on the process rather than the result. And we're kind of you're so locked in when you're calling a game on what plays you want to get to next. And I'll just tell you, as a position coach, there's times you're watching the play caller go, and this is over the years, and the play caller will call something, you go, oh, why are you calling that? Are you crazy? First down. So there's a little bit of, it speaks a little bit to the unpredictability of how you have to be in that. I would never want to be calling a game and people are calling out what's coming next, because ultimately the defense may be doing the same. So am I thick-skinned? Yes. I grew up with 3 brothers, so you have to be thick-skinned. You get around the dinner table and shots are coming at every angle. So I kind of was raised that way.
And with Zim, you got to be too, don't you? I got to believe Zim can have his cranky moments.
Zim's really good. I mean, I'm a former defensive player. I played defensive back in college.
Right.
Again, not well and very, very long ago. But I appreciate – Zim reminds me of coaches I've had in my past, my high school coach, my defense coordinator in college. Zim's he preaches toughness. He has toughness. He's shown toughness to our players. So he has high expectations for his players, has high expectations for his coaches. And he's really good on game day and throughout the offseason, because his perspective as I'll steal a line from Paul Allen, as an elite football mind, an elite defensive football mind, is invaluable to us as we're putting together an offense.
That was very well played, by
Thank
the way.
you.
That might get you back in his good graces. Kevin Stefanski is our guest, Vikings offensive coordinator. A lot of the angles early in camp, because everybody's looking for stuff, because not much has happened yet, is that Dalvin Cook might be the one player this offense. You say start with quarterback always, but beyond that Cook is the one player that this team, especially this year without Latavius, can least afford to lose, especially because of this assumption that in your vision of where this is going, he is very much at the center of it. Do you agree with that? Is that overplayed a little bit, or what would you say about what we're all assuming about what you guys expect and need out of Dalvin Cook?
I mean, I love Dalvin. I'm the number one Dalvin Cook fan club. So the guy's a great player. He fits our scheme, but this is way bigger than one player. And at no point do we sit around and say this offense, it's the Dalvin Cook show. It's just not what it is. We want to be multiple, and we want to be difficult to defend. So to say that it's going to revolve around one guy every play, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's what we want to be, because that speaks more to we don't want to be one-dimensional.
Every offensive coordinator, I assume, has to develop a legitimate and good relationship with the QB. You guys probably spend a lot of time together. How is that? What have you learned about that, being around football over the years? What the keys are to that? What do you try to keep in your mind to develop that so that this thing goes to the next level with him?
When it's good, and I've seen it, the coordinator and the quarterback are in sync, and the play is coming in, and the quarterback knows why the play caller is calling it. So, hey, we crossed the 50, or this is that 3rd and 6. We're expecting man. Here's the play. So there's a unspoken rhythm to the way that the two guys are thinking. So with Kirk, I want him to think like me. I want him to think like me and through our staff and how we're getting ready to attack a defense. And as you know, Kirk's as smart as they come. He works really, really hard at this game, wants to be really good, And I got really high expectations for him, just like he does himself. So we're ready to go. Our relationship, I spent an entire year with him. I'm bored with him. We don't need to spend any more time together. So, he and I know each other. We'll always be in touch with what he likes, what he doesn't like. But I'm very comfortable with how he's being coached by Clint Kubiak, how he fits into our scheme.
I was one of the things we were talking about with Zim about Cousins was I said, does he have? I called it the seat of the pants gene. He said, well, you mean the off-schedule plays, that ability. And I thought was pretty honest. And he said, well, I don't think that does come naturally to him, but we're trying to encourage that in him by some of the things that we are doing. Can you speak to that, how conscious you are of that, and how you try to go about the business of bringing that out of him, given all the other things he obviously can do well?
And it's like any player. You play to his strengths. There's, the perfect player doesn't exist, I don't think.
Well, Brady. Well, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not perfect because he can't run, but he's still pretty close to perfect.
You're right. He's pretty darn good. But I think with Kirk, that's definitely an element of his game that he wants to be better at, and you coach it. We talked a lot about the point guard on a fast break. You're on the fast break. You don't know exactly what you're going to do, but you're going to react to the defense. You're going to make a smart play.
Point,
so we talk a lot about that. We drill that. We watch a ton of tape. I put up the fast break rules in basketball and showed him some Jason Kidd clips.
Nice, I like that. Good pick, Jason.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as good as it got in that situation.
No doubt, and it is the truth. And I say this to the quarterbacks, and this, we coach them. When it's clean and it's there, that's the easy stuff. But what are you going to do when it's not there? And I've been around some really good ones that you call a play and it's just a really bad play, and hey, save my butt and get us, make a play. And really, when I say make a play, I'm really talking about make a positive play. Let's not make a negative play. So incomplete on 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, we can figure it out. Or incomplete on 3rd down, we punt. Don't love that, but let's not try and force something that's not there.
Or get 3 yards, even if you get 3 yards rather than -6, that
Correct.
kind of thing. Was it, last couple things for you, I appreciate the time. Was it, given the position you were in last year and how things evolved over the course of the season, was it tense for you? Was it difficult to sort of navigate that? I mean, you strike me as a guy who knows how to deal with that kind of stuff, that you have the right manner, that you're not going to get all, worked up. But, we all know how the season started and then what happened in the middle of the season. Those things don't happen that often, especially in football. So how was it for you? Was it tough or was it tense to kind of be caught in the middle there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenging year. We just didn't win enough, and that's ultimately what I think happened. And I will tell you this. We're sitting here. What's the date? August? No idea.
August 7th.
Thank you. August 7th. On August 7th, we cannot predict anything that's about to happen. And I say that every year, and it's always true. So to sit here and tell you that we're going to, the season's going to just be easy and we're not going to have some hardships, that's just not the truth. There's going to be ups and downs. And that's where we talk to our offense about being able to be resilient through that. And that's being resilient in the middle of the 3rd quarter. Or maybe, we lose a game. Right. How are you going to bounce back to that? So that's the NFL. I kind of, being in it as long as I've been in it, I've seen it all. I mean, so have you. Over the last 15 years, think of the things that have happened.
No doubt.
So you can't predict it. And really, I've gotten this far by just kind of keeping my nose down and doing my job and not worrying about all that other stuff.
What was you were basically Chili's right-hand man, right? So meaning what did you actually do? I mean, was it like you got to go get the laundry? Was it that? I mean, basically anything Chili asked you to do? And compare that to where you are now, man, it would seem to be a long way from here to there.
That's a great job so that I broke in. I was the assistant to the head coach. And what is that? It's everything and anything and everything. And that role in Philadelphia, it's Sean McDermott, who's the head coach in Buffalo now. He started out in that role. James Urban, who's in Philadelphia, is now the quarterback coaching the ball. So it's kind of an entry-level coaching position, I'd call it. And you're getting, from a head coach's perspective, you're getting to work on scheduling and meeting with our crack PR staff and that type of thing. So you kind of see all the things that involve football and then slowly but surely try and make your way into one of the meeting rooms and start understanding this game of football. So it was an entry-level position completely, but it was totally invaluable. Did it for 3 years. Probably I felt like it was 3 years too much. I was ready to go, but
Sure.
I really, looking back, I'm really glad that I had that experience.
It gives you exposure to everything is what you're saying.
100%.
And you just sort of immerse yourself. By the way, your dad, Ed, is with the Pistons now, correct?
Yes.
So our old friend Dwayne Casey,
Yes.
have you gotten to know him? Casey is a hell of a guy. I think he's a good coach, and he was a terrific guy for us to work with.
I don't know him. I mean, my dad
Yeah.
loves him. My dad worked with him in Toronto previously, and then they hired him 2 years ago now in Detroit. Loves the guy. Great
Yeah.
coach
Yeah.
of the year before he got fired. So, yeah, the guy's a stud.
We appreciate finally having you in. I hope PA doesn't take it too hard, and if we can do this every once in a while, it'd be great.
I'd be happy to cheat on him with you, Dan.
Much appreciated. Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator of your Minnesota Vikings. Practice is done for this Wednesday. We'll pause and continue in just a minute.